If your PMS phase makes you feel like a swollen, itchy, ragey version of yourself, you're not just moody, you're inflamed. And Pepcid, the heartburn medication that a lot of people have been talking about for PMS and PMDD symptoms, it might actually help, but let's unpack why and what I would recommend before you start raiding the pharmacy aisles. First of all, what the hell is going on in my body? Let's dive into that. You're 10 days out from your period and suddenly you are irritable, your boobs hurt, your skin is flaring, you're itchy, and you're reacting to every food, every smell, you're sneezing, you feel like you're getting sick. If that sounds like you, you're probably like, what is going on? I sound crazy. None of my doctors believe that this is even a thing. Period flu is absolutely a thing, and it comes down to one thing: histamine. This is a histamine flare. And in some women, especially those with PMS and PMDD, estrogen spikes, which causes histamine spikes. And then histamine can stimulate estrogen. So if you already struggle with estrogen dominance, which is going to look like breast tenderness, mood swings, irritability, not sleeping well, hot flashes, night sweats, headaches, migraines, either around ovulation or before your period, all of those are telling me your body's already struggling with estrogen clearance, and that is going to worsen histamine symptoms. So then the histamine is going to worsen the estrogen, and then we're in this perpetual cycle. So the science behind this: estrogen upregulates histamine receptors and inhibits DAO, which is an enzyme that helps to clear histamine. And then histamine feeds back into the cycle by increasing estrogen further, and it becomes this vicious cycle. And you're stuck feeling like a version of you, just watching your life from inside, feeling like this is not me, and I know it's not me, but I don't know what to do. I've been there. This is where Pepcid comes in, and this is where you might have seen this on social media and a lot of people talking about how Pepcid can be really helpful for PMS and PMDD symptoms because it is an H2 histamine receptor blocker, which means that it can ease symptoms like nausea and skin flares, mood swings, by calming that histamine response. Pepcid is helping to calm down the acid in our stomach by blocking H2. However, the downstream effect of that is it's also blocking histamine. And while Pepcid can help manage the flare, it's not the fix, right? Because the second you stop taking Pepcid, that histamine is still being overproduced. That estrogen is still high and not getting out of your body. That estrogen is still stimulating the histamine. The mast cells are still dumping the histamine. All of those issues are still going on whether or not you are taking Pepcid. So we're not really addressing the issue. We're just covering it up. And just because you can take a medication to cover it up doesn't mean that your body isn't asking for something deeper, right? That flare, those symptoms are your body trying to communicate with you and tell you that it is struggling, tell you that it's inflamed, tell you that the liver clearance of estrogen and gut elimination of that estrogen and histamine are under stress. It needs support. So let's talk about the tools that can help regulate histamine and inflammation at the root so that you don't have to rely on Pepcid. My favorite tools for histamine and PMDD or PMS support, the first one is quercetin. If you haven't heard of this, I need you to start doing your research, Google it, or just dive into it a little bit because quercetin is a flavonoid with natural antihistamine effects. Quercetin is found in anything that's yellow. So like yellow onions, in the skin of it, there's quercetin. And what this supplement essentially is that flavonoid. You can think of this as nature's Pepcid without the pharmaceutical baggage. It's going to help stabilize your mast cells. And mast cells are the ones that are releasing histamine. So if you're unfamiliar, mast cells are this group of cells that are holding on to histamine. And when they're unstable, they burst and they're releasing and dumping all that histamine into your body. And what we want to do is stabilize them, keep them nice and cozy so that they're not constantly getting scared and releasing histamine. So when we do that, you have less histamine being released in your body to elicit those histamine effects. Nettles tea is my second favorite herb to support histamine issues, allergies, chronic period issues that look like period flu. Nettles is really anti-inflammatory and mineral rich, and it gently supports your liver and your kidney detox. I have had so many women in my comment section or that I work with who tell me that they found nettles or they started taking the nettles and quercetin and it's changed their life. They're not having to take Allegra 24/7. They're not on Zyrtec all the time. They're not using Flonase just to breathe again. They're not chronically inflamed and they're not having period flu symptoms anymore because we're addressing that histamine and the inflammation. Nettles can also support DAO production. And remember, DAO is that enzyme that helps to break down histamine. So when we can have more of these enzymes, we can help get rid of histamine in our body. And then it's also going to help with that histamine estrogen excess. My third favorite tool for this, for supporting your liver, for supporting histamine, and just clearance in general. This is actually a general tool that you can use for so many different things. And I've actually had people tell me they have less cellulite, they're getting sick less often, their skin is clearer, they don't have eczema anymore because they did this one thing. And it's dry brushing. Spend like 2 to 5 minutes before you take a shower to dry brush. It really doesn't take that long. And it's not a spa gimmick. This is a real thing. This is a thing that works so well. It helps lymphatic drainage, and that is really key for moving out stagnant histamine and estrogen metabolites. Sometimes things get stuck. We're not moving as well. Circulation isn't flowing as well. I've even seen this be helpful for varicose veins. So if you struggle with any of those pieces, dry brushing, that's all you have to do. It's not even a supplement you have to take. Dry brushes are like $7 on Amazon. You can grab a dry brush, do this every day before you shower, and you will notice within 1 to 2 weeks, you're breathing better, you're sleeping better, your skin is clearer, you're not getting sick as often. It's magic, and it's really simple. And that gentle stimulation can also support vagal nerve tone. So that means you have better resilience to stress, less inflammation, less histamine issues, so many benefits from dry brushing. And lastly, on that same note, this is another one that I really love recommending for people who have chronic immune issues. And remember, allergies and histamine are a chronic immune issue, who have issues with getting sick. Maybe you have young children at home and they are in daycare and you are constantly exposed to a barrage of viruses and bacteria. Maybe you are just struggling with taking supplements, or you're really sensitive to things and you want to support circulation, but you don't know how. Or maybe you're really chronically ill and you can't move as much as you'd like to support circulation. So you can add this other piece in, and it is called contrast hydrotherapy. And it essentially is using water to help with circulation. So remember, we talked about dry brushing. That's one way of supporting lymphatic drainage and circulation. The other is contrast hydrotherapy. What we're doing is dilating and constricting your blood vessels using hot and cold water. So you can do this in the shower. You're probably showering every day, so you can do this every day. When you get in the shower, I want you to turn on the hot water for 3 minutes at least, or as long as it takes until you feel pretty warm. Like if you could sweat in the shower, this is how warm I want you to be. You feel pretty red, your vessels are dilated, you're hot. That's when we switch to cold. And it doesn't have to be super cold or as cold as your shower goes, just as cold as you can handle the water. That might just be going from hot to lukewarm, but that's okay. As long as there's a contrast between the hot and then the not hot, that's all we're looking for your body, because that contrast helps your body to constrict the vessels. So we went from opening and dilating to constricting the cold. You're going to do 30 seconds of cold. And I find my patients, the more often they do this, they're able to tolerate colder and colder and longer. So push it to what you're comfortable with. When you're first starting, just do it to your tolerance. As hot as you can handle, as cold as you can handle. 3 minutes hot, 30 seconds cold, 3 rounds. So you're going to repeat this a few times in the shower. Start with hot, end with cold. The reason that this works is because circulation is so important for moving our lymphatic system, for draining. Our immune cells are all inside our blood. If we're not moving our blood, things are stagnant, we're going to see issues here. So not only is this going to help with your moods, your skin, your inflammation, your immune function, it's also going to help with things like heavy bleeding, spotting. If you get brown bleeding at the beginning of your period instead of bright red bleeding, you might notice that that starts to change with dry brushing and contrast showers. So we're not just supporting the histamine and liver metabolism, we're also supporting so many other functions in your body. So to recap, Pepcid can be a useful tool during luteal chaos, but it's not your period's endgame. It's not your body's endgame. How long are you going to take Pepcid till you die? No, we're going to start with these other pieces to help regulate our body, to help our liver and our estrogen and our circulation, so that we can see long-term improvements in our inflammation, in our histamine, and our estrogen. And if you need deeper support for your PMS, for your PMDD, for your gut, for whatever hormonal issues you are struggling with, come schedule a discovery call so we can create a plan that works for you and create an individualized treatment that fits for your lifestyle. I will see you here next time. Let me know what questions you have, and please remember to like and subscribe so you won't miss any videos.